We are back to wrap up the AFC West, and we're going to do it today with the Los Angeles Chargers. Where you at, my friends? This is our continuing NFL team previews, day 12 of 32, here on bet.nola.com, and this is powered by the Datitude Podcast. I am Jim Derry, and the Chargers are kind of the darlings of the AFC West now. It's always been the Chiefs, well, I'll say always, the last 4 or 5 years since the Mahomes era started. Everybody loves the Chiefs. Chiefs numbers were always inflated. Maybe this is the year you get a bargain on the Chiefs because you're not going to get a bargain on these Chargers. We'll get into what I think about the numbers in just a minute. But you look at this team, and we try to figure out if they're better, worse, or the same. Brandon Staley as coach, look, I think people that have listened to me know what I think of Brandon Staley's style. I am not if you're one of those people who loves the super aggressiveness, loves going forward on 4th and 6 at your own 38 because the analytics say you're going to make it 46% of the time, and that's better than punting. He's not the coach for me. I don't like that style. And it's not just because I'm old school, but sometimes these analytics are just done too much. And you take these analytics, and to me, you could throw them out of the window because it's all about feel. I'm not going by a chart that tells me to do such and such, and I'm going to do it such and such. If it's 21-21 in the third quarter and I got a chance to take a lead, I'm not going for it on 4th and 4 at the 28 when I know my kicker is going to make a field goal. I mean, that is what it is. Well, let's talk about the personnel. So we talked about Brandon Staley. And so, again, it's all about taste. And the people, I guarantee you, this love for the Chargers has a lot to do with Brandon Staley. Obviously, it has a lot to do with Justin Herbert. What is great about these Chargers? I mean, first of all, you got to talk about the receiving core. Now, Keenan Allen is getting a little bit older now. Is he still the number one receiver? You got to consider him number one until he proves that he's not. But he has had some injury troubles the last few years, off and on. He's missed games here and there. And so is the number 2 guy who signed a huge contract. But Mike Williams, to me, is the one that's really ready to take the next step in this league. Mike Williams can be a 13, 14, 15 touchdown kind of guy, 1,000-yard receiver, if he stays healthy. Justin Herbert is going to find a way to throw him the ball. The receiving core is not a problem, okay? In fact, it's a huge strength for them. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. They have solid receivers. I'm not worried about who's going to catch the ball for this Chargers team. The running back situation is interesting to me because I think it could be really, really good or just average. Austin Ekeler is a great running back. Another guy who's had injury trouble, or at least last year in his first full year as taking over the reins for good. Austin Ekeler, when he's playing and when he's in that groove, he's fantastic. But what I like what the Chargers did is they liked that they got Isaiah Spiller and brought him in, big draft pick from Texas A&M. Isaiah Spiller is going to play a key role on this team right away. He was one of those guys in college when I watched him. I'm like, this guy is going to make a big difference for somebody. And he happens to go to a team that not only needs him, but a team that is really good and can make a move. So we're going to see how he plays out and how that makes a big deal for this Chargers team. So you look at their offense. I think their offense is slightly better than it was last year. So let's take a look at their defense now. And their defense ranks 23rd last year. I mean, to me, if you look at all the teams that they have to play on their schedule, again, let's look at the schedule, as a matter of fact, as we talk about this defense. But you look at this schedule, and to me, although it probably is the easiest one in this division, it's still got its spots where it's going to be super tough. 10th toughest in the NFL, and opening with Vegas and Kansas City is no picnic. Easily could be 0-2 there. That game against Vegas to start is going to be a tone-setting game to me. And I would imagine that the Chargers, I have not looked at the look-ahead line, but if I had to guess, the Chargers are going to be 3 or 4 point favorites in that one. It's in L.A. That is going to be a key game. It's almost a must-win right off the bat for them because I don't think they're going to win at Kansas City on a Thursday night on a short week right after. We'll see. But then you talk about a stretch where they get some breathing time. Jacksonville, at Houston, at Cleveland, Denver, Seattle. This is where this team has to make a move, and then at Atlanta after the bye week. To me, they really need to be no more than a 2-loss team after week 9. That's the key. If this team has any chance to get to that 10-win mark and get themselves either in the playoffs or be in the running for the division, they've got to be no more than a 2-loss team, maybe a 1-loss team by the time they get past week 9. Because then you talk about at San Francisco on a Sunday night, Kansas City, at Arizona, at Vegas, Miami. Are they going to be better? They're certainly beatable. But Tennessee, Indianapolis, the Rams, and at Denver. I mean, there's no picnic in the back half of that schedule. And a lot of these AFC West teams have their toughest times in the back half of the schedule. And so these Chargers do as well. So it's going to be where they are when they get there to that week 10 game against San Francisco, at San Francisco on a Sunday night. Their defense, and that's why I wanted to wait and talk about the defense, because the defense isn't a huge deal for the front end of this schedule, but to me, the back half of this schedule, defense is going to be a huge deal. We know Joey Bosa has had his issues on and off. Great football player, fantastic football player. He will need to be healthy. They bring in Khalil Mack, who at times is the most dominating player on the defensive side of the football. And at times, he looks like he doesn't want to be there. So which is it going to be? Those two guys themselves could carry this team. But, and you look at the back half, the back end of the defense, they have seriously improved the secondary with J.C. Jackson. Bringing J.C. Jackson in to complement Asante Samuel is going to be a big deal. They are going to have to be able to stop the Mahomes of the world. There's no question in my mind there are going to be more passing yards in this division than any other division in football. And I love Josh Allen. I love what the Buffalo Bills are doing. I love the fact that the Patriots are probably going to take the next step. But you can't tell me that Mahomes, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, and Russell Wilson aren't going to throw for more yards than any other division in football. So that's why getting J.C. Jackson and Asante Samuel are key for this Chargers defense. I'm just not sure it's going to make enough difference as we wrap this up before we get to our expert. That 10-win total, we pull it up again. Again, it's 10.5 a lot of places. I'm not playing this number. If anything, there's value in the under. I don't think they're going to win 10 games. In fact, I think there's a real good chance they finish with a losing record. I know that this team offensively is fantastic and has real weapons, and Justin Herbert's ready to take the next step, and the defense may be an uptick better. It's certainly better in the secondary. But the back half of this schedule, I just don't trust the Chargers, and I think there's value on the under. I'm not sure what the bet is to not make the playoffs. It's probably around plus 200. If it is, give it to me. I'm going to take it. Because there are lots of things to me to bet on the under on this Chargers team, and I'm not touching any of these other numbers. I just have a suspicion our expert's going to disagree with me. Let's hear what he has to say. Moving on this Friday, we're wrapping up the AFC West. We've had 3 interesting conversations so far in this division, and we're going to go forward with the Los Angeles Chargers, an over-under of 10, which seems the Chargers, Adam Chernoff of Covers.com, one of the most popular teams, I think, to be bet over, simply because of the trajectory that they're on. They will go 9-8 last year, and Justin Herbert is this wonderful quarterback, and they have Keenan Allen, and they have a pretty decent running back with Austin Eckler, and the defense is playing okay, and they're moving along. Brandon Staley is making some weird decisions, and so everybody's got the over except me. I've got the under. I actually think there's decent value here at plus 110 as I see it. I'm not sure the Chargers are better than last year. I don't like the way Brandon Staley calls games. I love Justin Herbert. And they have, of the 4 teams, they probably have, not on paper, but if you just look at it, to me, they have the easiest schedule. I just don't really like this team.
Well, we've got disagreement here. Maybe not on the bet side, but I'll disagree with the way Staley's calling games. I think he does a really good job in spots where coaches.
Zach Ewing will love you.
You just need to be a lot more aggressive in spots where he is. And I think collectively, as we watch football and we're used to it, we're really good at talking about football, but we think we're a lot better than we are at deciding what should
No
happen in
question.
football games. And so we're kind of, there's always a gap there. So I thought what he did last year was really well done. This year, there's a clear emphasis in the offseason on the defense to fix a lot of those weaknesses. Across the board, the defense is loaded. Offensively, there's very little you need to say. You have Herbert on that rookie deal. He's progressing to be, if not already is, one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, depending on who you speak to. So there was a lot of room to add pieces, and they did a really good job of doing that early. So the roster is absolutely loaded from top to bottom. It's, to me, hard to find a spot on this team not to like. But what I don't love is the price. And we've talked about this division all week. We keep hearing win totals in the double digits. And you have a division that's this competitive and this tight, and all these teams have brutally difficult schedules. There's only so many wins that can go around within the division. When you have these 3 teams combining for win totals in the 30s, like, it's tough to find a lot of wiggle room if you're looking to go over. And so it's kind of been my point of indifference this entire week, where there's a lot of obviously great teams within this division, but from just a betting standpoint, outside of the Raiders going over, it's really hard to find a lot of value on these overs within this division. So the Chargers, again, they're going to be a great team. They're loaded with talent. They're going to be favorites in a lot of games. They're going to get a lot of betting attention. But to me, for a season long bet, I can't get there. I think the way you look here within this division was what we talked about yesterday in the Raiders.
So we don't agree on how we got there, but we kind of agree on the end result.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good way to sum it up. And why I was kind of laughing at the start, because I was like, I'm going to disagree with some of it, but the bet, like, we're on the same page there. So I'm with you.
Well, it doesn't matter how we get there as long as we get there. And next week, we're going to get there with the NFC West, which another interesting division, has defending Super Bowl champions in it. We'll talk about it then. Adam Chernoff, thank you.
I swear I've got takes for the readers waiting. We just heard the way we're progressing through the divisions. There's a lot of bets upcoming on my end, but I think we'll get there next week and the week after.
Sounds good. NFC West next week, AFC North the week after that. Should be fun.
There we go.